Hi there, this is Gary MacDougall, and what I'm going to talk about today is tapping into your purpose, tapping into the will of the divine, and the divine is that spirit that is within you. There's a lot of talk about ascension and that spirit coming up right now. That spirit coming up, it's coming up in so many people. So many people are awakening or becoming more aware of higher levels of consciousness. And when you do, man, it taps you into all these solutions for the earth at this time. Yeah, so many things come. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to put a little bonus at the end, because in this awakening process for me, so many things have changed. And one of the changes I want to show you is what we dug up our front garden. Because people have been asking me about that, about the garden and about our chickens we got. We did chickens last week. I'm super excited about my little girlies. And show you the greenhouse and all the growth that's going on in there. So, we are going to get into the will of the divine in ascension. Because people are ascending, their spirits are ascending. And it doesn't mean that their bodies are leaving. It means, when I speak of ascension, I'm talking about like the spirit that is within you. That was of the lower mind before. Maybe you're out like, how am I going to help myself? How am I going to get money? How am I going to get sex? That's the lower mind. It's like me, 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 me. It's ego mind. But when that spirit or that energy ascends and the heart opens and your heart, this loving feeling happens. I was on a spiritual path for like 15, 20 years before I really felt a heart opening. I remember people used to work on me and they'd be like, man, your energy down below, like the sexual area and root chakra would be really big, but the heart would always be contained because that energy wasn't coming up because there's so much trauma in me. If you've had like a traumatic past, you've carried a lot of shame with yourself, if you struggle with addiction, I understand where you're coming from. So there's a lot of channelers out there, and this isn't a diss on channelers, it's just it didn't work for me. That really, they're about think positive thoughts and you'll attract positive things. You know, it's a very masculine way of doing things, and I think that can be very sacred, and it works, and it's worked for me. I mean, I've attracted abundance, I've created abundance in my life, but for me, to help me really find what I was looking for, like to be a part of the solution on this earth, to find my abundance, to find my fulfillment, I had to tap into my feminine side and deal with that trauma, deal with that sadness, deal with that hurt, and when you do, your spirit and that energy will ascend. You still have to have that strong masculine side. I'm all about that. Have that spine. I had a quote by David Data this week about having spine. But there's also that emotional side, that feminine side. We tap into the feminine, we deal with the trauma, we deal with pain, and we get through that, we can tap into our divine feminine. Now, everybody has a divine feminine, everybody has a divine masculine. You get that feminine side, you get that masculine side. I might have them backwards, but it doesn't matter to me. You know where I'm coming from. So heal the trauma, heal the pain. If you're in pain right now, get into your body. Don't try to escape or think you're going to leave the earth. Come back into your body. That's why I highly recommend people doing stretching or people doing yoga or take a yoga class. You know, I went to India years ago, like 2001, and I got these 4 stretches. I do them every day. Sometimes I only do 2 of them. You know, I do a stretch, do some writing, get into my body, into those feelings, into that trauma, and heal it, release it. Go in your car, friggin' put on some loud, sad music and cry it out. Do whatever you gotta do. Write it out. Get that shit out so you can tap into the divine feminine. But let's get into that. Because so many people are waking up to that light and the ascension, but they're also waking up to the fact that some crazy shit happening in the world right now. Whether you're talking about the Illuminati, whether you're talking about, you know, yeah, the earth suffering, Monsanto with all their chemicals killing the earth, killing plants, killing people with their cancer. I mean, that's dark shit, right? But light workers, we have solutions. There's other solutions. So when you heal your trauma and stuff, you start waking up to the darkness, but you wake up to the solutions as well. And each and every one of us has a solution. That's the divine will. That's why we're here. That's why we incarnated into our bodies. So whether you came from freaking the star system of the Pleiades or Arcturians or the Sirians or Lyrians, they come from all over. We've come from all over. You gotta fly that freak flag. Own your power. Own where you've come from and what you're here for. You know, the Arcturians really resonate with me. Something about love. There's something about spirit. There's something about coming to the earth at this time in my soul to educate people, to help people heal, but also inspire people to tap into that divine feminine, that creativity. You know you're doing the divine will when you feel alive. You know, you're not just making money. You're not just helping yourself. But you're of service, your heart is open, you're loving, and you're doing something good for people, and people are happy with what you're doing. So whether you're helping 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, 10,000 people, or millions of people, just start by listening to that inner voice, that inner divine, past the trauma, past the pain. and crazy shit, awesome stuff starts happening. And I gotta swear sometimes, man. Sometimes I swear. Just to get that out. But I'm going to tell you, I've probably shared this story before, but I'm going to do this bonus section about the chickens because I'm so pumped about my chickens. We're getting eggs, like 3 or 4 eggs every day from 4 chickens. I'm getting an awesome compost soil for a garden out front. I'm going to show you that. But I'm going to share this story about, there was this trauma I was dealing with my body. I have no problem talking about this. There's this 4th dimensional control that goes on, and it's through television, and it's meant to scare you. It's through, religions try to scare you. They try to control you. Try to think that God is out there, or the power is out there, or it's in heaven there. When the power is in your heart, it's healing that trauma and letting that energy ascend. God is within. And once that energy ascends and you realize that God is everywhere and everywhere is sacred. I used to hear this stuff when I used to go to ceremony with Native people and stuff. But I didn't feel it. I didn't get it. But I get it now, because once you have that experience, you know. You don't need to read Bibles. You don't need to read books. You get your answers from God within, from that spirit, from the soul. We're not separate from God. We are one with everything. So I was dealing with some trauma, getting past this 4th dimensional pain of fear of like doing messages like this or talking like this, or what will people at the ballpark think of me, or what will the parents at the schoolyard think of me, what will my parents think, what will the, uncles and aunts, whatever. I had this smile on my face because at first it was really awkward, it was really scary, and you kind of get over that. It kind of disappears. You free up, you start getting free, you start feeling alive. So I was letting go of some of this trauma of the past. This trauma, like I felt deep down, like in my bloodline, there was a lot of pain, whether it was through them fighting in wars. I gotta say about wars. Are all wars fake? Are they always what they're telling us? Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that. I'm praying for peace on this earth. I don't need a war between Russia and the US. I think a lot of people would die. And I think we can stop it through prayer, through meditation, through sending them love, through finding a higher dimensional solution. But back to my healing. So I was getting through all this pain about war, and it was like passed down from generation to generation. And I thought this shit was fake, right? I thought like some of the visions that were coming to me, I had this vision that a relative from 7 or 8 generations ago was carrying this pain in his body because the Scottish people were kicked off their land by the English people, because the English people decided they didn't want the Scots on their land anymore. They wanted to raise sheep. So my relatives were kicked off their land from the Scottish Highlands. And I found this out from my neighbor in the back. There's a synchronicity going on in my life at the time. I've told this story before, but my back neighbor, he was when I moved to Victoria, I'm in Victoria, BC now. I moved here 20 years ago. My friend and I, my best friend, we were couch surfing on these 2 girls that we knew we're originally from the East Coast, Nova Scotia. And I was building this fence with my neighbor, and it turns out he was our first landlord, and he wanted to kick us out. So it felt like karma. It was like I was able to like forgive myself for my shameful behavior of the past. I was dealing with the shame. I was dealing with this pain. But he also told me that, I told him I was Scottish, and I said, my first Scottish relative came to Canada 200 years ago on a teaching grant. He's like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, we came from the Highlands, He goes, "No, people from the Highlands back then were kicked off their land." I said, "How do you know about this?" He said his wife did her master's on the Scottish Highlands, and so my relatives were kicked off their land. And I could feel the pain, I could feel the shame, I could feel the pain of not being in control of your destiny, of people like pushing you. Like I could feel the pain in my blood, in my body. And I had to heal that because it had been passed down from generation to generation. If you're a parent, I'm a parent of 3 kids, you understand that kids don't necessarily do what we say. They do what they feel, and they get their feelings from the vibration of us. They're emotional sponges. So the more we heal our trauma, the more we heal our pain, the better they're going to be, the better they're going to feel. The more we demonstrate healthy, loving behaviors to our kids, the better they're going to be. So that's one of my motivations of healing. It's healing that trauma, fixing this fence, healing this pain, letting go of the pain of that ancestor that had been passed down generation to generation to generation that I was carrying. And when I let that go, I saw this vision. I saw this vision of like this ancestor of mine getting kicked off his land and being so sad and leaving all his knowledge of that land, all his knowledge of the earth into the earth. And I thought I was making this shit up, But the reason why I'm healing is because the next day I opened a book that my wife was reading. It was by Barbara Handclough, and she's an amazing channeler of the Pleiades. And I opened it up, and there's this picture of this druid guy who was with his hands, was holding his hands over the stone, and he was putting all his knowledge, all his wisdom of the land into that stone. And that's what the caption read. And I thought, it was like a freaky moment. I was like, holy shit, I wasn't imagining that vision I was having. So it's like when we follow our heart, we call forth. So I encourage you, call forth your healing, call forth your power, your purpose on this earth. You can call it a prayer. Just call it forth like God, creator, universe. I call forth my medicine. My healing medicine. Heal my body. Heal my soul. You'll be guided to the healer. You'll be guided to the book. And these synchronicities will start happening. When I saw that book and I saw that guy putting his power into that stone, I called for that information. I went to the earth and I sat on the earth and I said, Spirit of the earth, I call forth the information from the sky. And all this information started flooding to me about microbes and soil and how important it is for soil. See, we don't need chemicals and chemical fertilizers to make our plants healthy. We just need to make the soil healthy. Get microbes in there, get compost on there. That's why I got the chickens, for compost. I got eggs, but I also got compost to make the garden healthy. And all this, this passion just arose in me, this spirit, this alive. U2 sings that song, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I feel that I found what I'm looking for because I feel alive. Let go of the trauma, and that spirit, that divine creativity is just coming up in me. Whether I'm being a healer or doing this hobby of gardening and raising chickens and living in the city. So call forth your power. Call forth your abundance. I gotta say this about abundance too. There's the channelers that speak about, about making money, and if you focus on money and you focus on abundance, you'll get it. It's true. But if you focus on the divine will first, think of a fruit tree that's planted in the perfect place. A fruit tree that's planted in the perfect place that gets full sun, good water, good soil, good everything, eventually grows abundantly. So if you're just starting on this awakening path, you might not be abundant now, but know when you align with the divine will, that feminine side, and you take a stand in your masculine side, you stand up for what you feel, for what's coming through, for what you're channeling, for what's coming through your soul, that you will produce abundantly. Your service, your love, you will receive. You just have to stay open to it in your mind. Because it's natural. A fruit tree that's producing abundantly has hundreds of fruit on it. So accept your abundance, accept the prosperity that is on its way. Tap into your divinity, that feminine side. Provide a service, high level of service, whatever it is. Because you're a healer, don't take less. Don't think you take less because people can heal themselves. I live with people, people on my street make over $100,000 a year running fairies, running the banks, running, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're surgeons, and they make a lot of money. Don't think you have to do something educated to thrive in life. Follow your heart. Follow your divine will. What's wrong with that? Provide a service. Do something good. Follow your heart, though. And then that's the highest amount of service you can do. You don't have to think in your brain, I have to get all of this education. Anyway, I'm going to get out in the garden. I got to show you the garden. But, the highest level of service is the best thing you can offer. And it comes through you. It's natural. It makes you feel alive. It makes you feel like you found what you're looking for. So I'm going to show you the garden. We, last year, we dug up our front yard. Take it out of the house. Let's see if I can show you this. Got a bobcat. My neighbor had a bobcat in construction. And my wife's in the garden. Can you see that? Got the plants at the front there. Too much sun. Plants at the front there, but then we dug up the whole yard. Damn. Do we have a whole lot growing right now? Not a whole lot. Got these little baby blueberries. And cherry tree. Pear tree back there. Where's Skylar? Skylar's in the car. Can you say something, Chuck Cheese?
Chuck Cheese.
Chuck up Cheese. Where are you going?
I don't know.
Okay, going somewhere with Mommy for lunch?
With Jessica too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Have fun.
Bye.
I love you.
Bye.
Okay. I'm gonna go show the chickens. Do you like the chickens?
Of what?
What are the chickens' names?
Rosie.
Rosie, yes.
Sunny.
Yeah.
And Ginger.
Yeah.
And Moonhawk.
But you used to call it Mooney, but now it's Moonhawk? Okay, cool name.
And oh, Rosie.
Okay, Rosie. I love you, buddy.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
He's my kid of 1,000 names. I call him Chuck Cheese. I call him Chi-Chunk. I don't know why. His nicknames just come to me. Love you, babe. Have fun. Show you my greenhouse. It's like 20 degrees out right now. Really hot. Oh, it's nice. It's not really hot. But in the greenhouse, it's like 35 degrees, 100 degrees. It's smoking in here. Anyway, let's see what we got. We got like a dozen peppers, a dozen broccoli, 24 basil plants. No, there's like 50 basil plants there. Watermelons. I'm going to put these all in the soil here in the greenhouse really soon. Or some of them. I'm going to put a lot of the tomatoes out front. We got like a dozen tomatoes. No, we have about 40 tomatoes there. And we're starting some seeds inside because we've been having soil troubles out front. We're getting the plants big. Anyway, got to show you the chickens. They always come to the door now. We've only had them for like 4 days, but they know I bring food. So where are little guys here? There they are. Show you the chicken coop. Check this out. I built this out of lumber that was headed for the dump for my neighbors. Some of it's from fences. Some of it's from foundations. But the chickens, we got them, they're like 6 months to 8 months old. They are laying eggs, and there's only 3 here now, so one's probably inside laying an egg. And that's pretty awesome. And they're making soil. Just throw in plants or chickens or food scraps, everything in there, they just eat it up. Chicken compost. Yeah, that's something I'm learning too about gardening is like abundance doesn't come overnight. We got a bunch of fruit trees here too. Let's see if you can see them. We got like an apple, and then we got a plum, we got a pear, we got another apple. There's like 4 trees there. They don't produce overnight. And when you first start awakening, you start healing, the mind's not totally aligned with the soul. And then you start opening the mind to the soul. It's like abundance doesn't happen immediately. But in my case, like I've always realized that if I just keep my mind open and I just, you know, keep loving and tapping into the soul and just put myself out there, that doors start opening, that abundance starts flowing. It's like fruit trees. It might not happen in the first season or the second season, but things start happening in time. So don't get in the mind about how long it's going to take. If you just trust in the will of the divine and just give her. It happens. And the chickens approve of my message. Anyway, keep healing, keep growing, keep ascending, and call on your power, and put it out there. This world needs you, it needs me, it needs everybody, all of us. So much love. Peace.